Hello everyone, my name is Candace and I'm going to be spending some time with you teaching you how to use Adobe Spark. If you haven't already, you want to go download it if you're using a laptop. If you're using your cell phone, you can do almost all of it on an iOS device. I believe your Android devices are only going to allow you to download Adobe Post. But if you are using an iOS device, you'll want to download all three apps, Post, Video, and Page, all of those. So I'm hoping that you're all doing well, and I'm going to kind of get started by using this PowerPoint to kind of give you some tips and some streamline some information, and then I'll be flipping over into my Adobe Spark account. All right, so if you're here, it's because you want to learn about Adobe Spark. You probably already know that it is free. If not, that's great news. But it is free. You can use it for just about anything. I mostly use the posts and videos quite a bit. I actually teach graphic design and animation, and I used it heavily during our COVID quarantine and online learning there at the end of the year because my students could not get onto any other Adobe software, so we basically stayed with Adobe Spark for the remainder of the year. And I think they did pretty well. The kids enjoyed it. They liked taking a break from Photoshop and Illustrator and Animator and all that. So doesn't matter what subject you teach, what discipline you're in, you can find a way to use this. This presentation I'm going to provide for you will also have links to lesson plans. It will, I'll encourage you to log into Adobe Education Exchange, where there are tons of other lesson plans that are available for free, and it's just a good source of information for everything technology. So when you get this presentation, you're going to see that this is a video about digital citizenship, and it was created by a fourth grader. And then on the right, we have kind of an example of how you would use a post with maybe your older students who may have just read Romeo and Juliet. One example is a 6-word summary, and the other is a headline using a graphic. And both of them you can see have the flower in the background. All right, so I'm just going to give you a few examples of how I used Adobe Spark. Most of these are going to be posts. While we were on during our quarantine time, I had them create thank you cards for our local hospitals. We created COVID-19 tip pages. We created quarantine memes just to kind of break things up and not be so serious. And then I kind of went more towards the student themselves and let them reach out and tell me some things about themselves, maybe what they've been doing during the quarantine. And then the bottom in the middle kind of is an example of how the student or what the student actually thinks of themselves. So Adobe Spark, completely free, use online through a Chromebook. If you're using an iPad, it comes in those 3 apps that you see there on the right. If you haven't already gone to Adobe Spark and logged in, go ahead and get logged in so that you can start creating with me, and that's what we're going to do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a post. It's probably the most simple, easiest thing to create. Here are some examples. Again, these come with lesson plans, and I really like the one in the middle about keep it simple, because when you are using Adobe Spark, it will come with tons of templates, and they're all very well designed. You can just take one and recreate from that. It's really hard. Kids, young kids, teenagers, they all want to cram just a ton of stuff on to a tiny little space, and that middle example there is going to give you some tips on how to keep it simple and make it easy to understand, to read, and so forth. So it takes a little bit of patience, you know, especially at first. They want to cram everything on there, and you just probably don't want that because it's going to get really messy. But again, this presentation will be available to you. These are links to lesson plans for those 3 assignments. And this is a link to a YouTube video on how to create a Spark post. So really simple, easy to follow, and we're going to start creating one here together. So we are going to log in, get into Adobe Spark. We're going to select to create a post. And this first one is just going to be an I am. This is your graphical challenge, your first one. We're going to work with images, fonts, and colors. And the message we're going to customize is I am. So I'm going to see if I can jump out of this and easily get over to my Spark account. Okay, here is my Adobe Spark. You can see that my photo shows up here as I am logged into my account. I can go here to see any previous projects that I may have created, and Spark allows you to create folders to put things in. So this was a new feature added not long ago, so that's really helpful. But again, if I'm starting out at home, it's going to tell me or kind of walk me through some of the basics. You can see some of my recent projects. You can start with a template. If you see a yellow tab on it, that means that is the paid version. So there is a paid version of Adobe Spark. There's also a Adobe Spark for Education, which I have had trouble getting set up in my district because of our restrictions on our network. It was just virtually impossible to make happen this year. But I'm going to keep trying, because that means that if you are able to get into Adobe Spark for Education, you're able to get everything. All of these little yellow tabbed templates will now be free and available to you. So here we are. We are going to create our very first post, and it's called I Am, and that can be anything you want it to be. I like to start with the plus sign. And if you know anything about social media, you know that Instagram posts are kind of square. Facebook posts are more horizontal. It completely depends upon what you want to do. You can do a collage. And then in a bit, we're going to do the video and even work with the web page. So we're going to start with Instagram post. That's where I'm going to begin. So you get a little message. A post opens, the post shape opens, and you are ready to work. So again, I'm going to move my little window over here. And there are templates that you can begin with. Again, those with the little yellow tab mean that they are the premium version. So if you see one that you like or you want to start with, and then kind of work it to however you want it to look, you can do so. I'm just kind of scrolling down through here. I'm not really seeing any that I'm going to use. Oh, this is a nice one. You can actually just start with that one if you want to. But I'm going to design one from scratch just so you can see how easy it is. So if I go to my colors, you're going to see that Adobe Spark is going to kind of keep your color families together. So you can find a color group that you like. There are so many to choose from. I'm just going to choose something that's up near the top. And if I don't like that particular color, I can ask it to shuffle and it'll just zoom right through those. And I'm going to use one with a pretty dark background. So here is my color. I just added a color. to it. I'm going to add some text now. And remember, we are looking for the I am. And here it's not necessary to completely start from scratch because some of these templates for this text are really pretty simple. So and pretty creative. So I'm going to start with inner beauty. And I don't want it to say inner beauty. So I'm going to go to my edit and I'm going to type I am and we'll see what it comes out to look like. I'm going to do it in all caps and see. May or may not work. No. Didn't really work with that text because it's not long enough. So I'm just going to double click to get back in here and do something here. So I can always switch this. I can switch to, I thought that my text styles would change, but I guess it sort of did right here, but not really. I can give it some, I can resize it. I can increase the spacing between letters. I've got, a few more options here, but that particular style that I chose didn't really work with me. So this is what I love about this. If I go to style and I start scrolling around this little circle, I'm going to start getting different options, or they call them suggestions, for what I could do differently with my text. And notice that it's staying with my same color scheme, the colors that I chose. So I'm going to just kind of drag this on around and see if it will give me some other choices. It seemed to kind of get stuck on me a minute. You can see it kind of blinking like possibly I don't have the greatest Wi-Fi connection where I am. Oh, well, that's interesting. So I would say just rotate around if you're following me until you see one that works for you. I kind of liked that one anyway. And if I go to shape and I'm still on my text layer, I can do some different things with my shape. I can increase the padding between the graphics. I can go in here and ask it to have a top and bottom. If I don't like it, I can always Control Z or hit this undo and it'll go back and undo what I was doing. So my first creation, I am, and then this is what you're going to tell your audience. So I'm going to add some more text. I might try going to see if some of these might be kind of cool. And I don't want to get too funky. Might try this one. No. Could not decide what I wanted my words to say. You can see depending on the words that I used, it doesn't exactly that's not exactly perfect. And I really don't like that and being so large. So I'm going to try just the ampersand and see what I get. Oh, now that looks totally different. And so the cool thing is you can get some things that are totally different. I don't like that one at all. But when I move it over, notice I moved it over to the middle. Did you see that blue line up here saying, yeah, you just got that in the middle? I can make it larger and it looks even more wacky. So I'm going to probably go over here and see if I can do something with changing the font. Maybe I'll change the shape. That might change the look of it. Oh, goodness, no. And y'all know I use Control Z a lot. No, these are all too large to use a shape to. All right, so I'm going to change my size. I'm going to increase my letter spacing so that my words come out a little bit better. And I may go in here and put the word "and" back in there, just because that looks better than that ugly. Oh, see, now I like that better. And then it makes me not so much like this big black thing up here. But I may change it to go back to the style and see if I can find something now that I like that. There we go. So really, really simple. I could go look at some templates. I could go in and make some changes in some of my backgrounds. I just clicked on my background color. I could add an image if I wanted to my background. I'm gonna leave the images for the next thing that we create, which is going to be a video, because there's some really good and great opportunities to search for photos that we might want. Okay, so before we leave here, and here's the cool thing, you don't have to click save or anything. If you got out of this, if you lost power, it's going to save automatically. What I do like to do is I like to come over here and at least give it a name. So I'm going to call this I am, just because when it saves, it's going to save as an I am, and it's going to automatically save as a post. So once I have that kind of named, and I'm just clicking around to get off of it, I am going to want to download it. So I can download it here. And when I download it here, I have the choice of downloading as a PNG or a JPEG. I kind of like to always save mine as a JPEG. Both will work, but I'm going to choose JPEG, and I'm going to ask it to start my download. And you can see that it's downloading into my downloads, my I am post. All right, so we have created our very first post. I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to come back over here and run this PowerPoint. All right, so we created our graphic. So now we're going to go look at Spark Video, and this one I probably use really the most with my classes, because I sometimes, when they learn a new skill, I want them to then be able to go and explain that skill, not just to for themselves to know, but maybe for future reference. Maybe next year I want to be able to run some of these videos and have past students teach future students on how to do a particular skill. So we are going to go look at Spark Video. And in Spark Video, in this presentation, here are 3 examples, and I can't find my cursor, but you'll be able to click on them and watch these student videos. 2 examples of 4th graders using it, and then high school science student, which is this one's kind of cool. I will tell you that Spark Video can be used at any age. I have a friend whose grandson used it to explain dinosaurs because he wants to be a paleontologist when he grows up. So he is in kindergarten, and he created a Spark video about being a paleontologist. So really at any level. And again, this presentation will be available. Here's a link to a YouTube video on how to create a great Spark presentation or video, sorry. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to create another I am creation using video, but we've already downloaded our I am graphics, so we're going to actually insert that into our video. But we're going to see how incredibly easy it is to create a video using Adobe Spark. So I'm going to get out of this presentation and go back to my Adobe Spark. And when I go to my plus sign, and before I leave there, I'm going to pull this down. Actually, I'm going to go to my projects. And so you'll now see in your project, you'll see your post that you created. So we're going to go to the plus sign. And this time we're going to pull down to video. And I usually just skip this because if I don't know exactly what I'm going to be creating, I don't have to show this. I can skip it, so I'm going to choose to skip it. And this is what I love about the video. It doesn't ask you to just dive in and start creating a video. Depending on the type of video you want to create, it will give you templates for creating them. So do you want to promote an idea? Do you want to tell someone what happened? Do you want to do a show and tell? And if I scroll over to the right, growth, teach a lesson, invite someone, or make up my own starts completely from scratch. So for me, I do a lot of teach a lesson videos, and the only thing that means is when the template opens, it's going to give you some tips on what to put on your slides, so to speak, and it's going to help your students also. So I'm going to do a show and tell because this is an I am video, so I'm going to create it or treat it like it's a video about me. So I'm going to pick this one. A lot of times I will also just start from scratch, but I want you to see how these templates in Adobe Spark Video work for your students. So I'm going to click OK, I'm ready. And you can see it is very much like a PowerPoint to some degree. Your very first page, the students are going to be prompted to give it a title, and this one's about me. And if they go to this slide, notice there's nothing on the slide to start with, but it's just telling you from the template, what is it? Or what it is, why, show it, and then you're going to get to how, why am I sharing, a call to action in your credits. And we're gonna do just a really short one. So we're going to see how we can actually make changes to this. So I'm going to start with my very first slide, is what we're going to call it. And I'm going to add text. And I'm going to start with I am, very similar to what I did previously in my post. So I'm just going to leave this as my title. And I'm going to go to my second slide, and this is where I'm going to insert my photo. So the photo, my post that I recently created, remember I downloaded it, so it'll be in my downloads. So I'm going to go to my upload photo, and I'm going to go to my downloads, and here it is at the very top. So here is my I am, and I'm going to say open. And I really like that this showed me that it is way too large. So if I go to this little pencil here, I can do the minus sign, and I can make it smaller so that it all shows on the page. And that's a little bit better. Still not very presentable. So I'm going to hurry up and jump to our themes so that we can make this look a whole lot better. So we're in layout. In our layout, we can do different things. I think I'm actually going to create this into a split screen so that it looks a little better. So now I can come in here and maybe make this photo a little larger. But the one thing I am going to jump to is I'm going to jump to theme, because your theme is where your whole presentation, your video is going to take on a different look. I'm going to choose green because green was what I used here in this image, and you can see how it's changing all of my slides, my background slides to green, the background of my slides to green. If you want a different font, and it's unfortunate there's not a whole lot of choices here, but if you want a different font, you can choose a different theme that will give you a different font. So with each different theme, you will have different colors that you can use. And I'm going to go back. So now with this different theme, I get different text available to me. So I'm kind of bouncing back and forth here just to kind of show you how and how the different themes work. Again, you don't have a lot of choices on the fonts, but I think that's probably okay. So I'm going to, because I chose my layout to be a split screen, I'm actually going to come over here and I'm going to add a photo where I'm going to go look for something that is teacher-like. So I love the Find Free Photo option in Adobe Spark. You can use this in the post as well, or the page that we'll go to, because it will look for royalty-free images for you to use. If you are using it in your school district, you may have restrictions that don't allow some of your students to use very many free photos. They can always upload their own, but I love the free photo option. So I'm going to ask it to find me a free photo of a teacher. And I'm probably not going to use a picture of someone, but I am going to use this one. So notice that this photo is by Scott Graham. When we get to our credits page, he is going to be credited with this photo that we are using, or any photo that you're using is going to get a credit to it. I'm going to go to my next slide, and I'm actually going to do something that I very rarely do, but I'm going to use the same picture again that I uploaded previously, because I'm not just a teacher, I also said that I was a creator. So I'm going to use it twice, kind of repeat what I'm doing again. So I'm going to have to make this smaller so that we can see it on the page. Maybe a little bigger. Can't really see that. And then I'm going to come over here and find an image, a free image of a creator. We'll see what we get. And I'm going to go back to the same technology type tool. This one is by a different person, and again, it will come up in our credits. So the really wonderful thing about Adobe Spark Video is that you can have your students actually record their voice, giving an explanation. So I'm going to go back to slide 2, even though it looks very much like slide 1. And I think the maximum is about, the maximum you might want to go is about 14 seconds or so. It's going to start telling you when you've gone a little long. So in order to record, all you do is you hold down the record button. You're going to get a time count off, and then you can record, and you can record over and over and over as many times as you want. So I'm going to just record right here. I'm going to press and hold. I'm going to get my countdown. Oh, actually, that was not a countdown. That was an actual recording. So we're going to do it this way. I am 2 things. I am a teacher. And then I'm going to go here. And I am a creator. So if I go back to my first slide and play it, I am 2 things. I am a teacher. And then if I go to my second slide and play it, and I am a creator. And if you notice, there was a little background music. So we're going to look at how to change that as well. So far I have 3 pieces to my video, my I am. I've downloaded my image that I created in the post. I've recorded my message. I've recorded another message. and I have multiple slides still available. I can add slides by using the plus over here, or I can delete slides. So on this next slide, I'm going to talk about being a teacher. And with this one, I'm just going to have the text and talk about being a teacher. Same thing here. I'm going to talk about being a creator. And I kind of ignored what it was telling me, giving me as a tip. But I've been teaching in the classroom. That was terrible, so I'm just going to restart it. I've been a classroom teacher for 26 years and will start my 27th year in the fall. So that one went a little longer. I wanted you to be able to see how it went long. And obviously, we were able to redo it. As a creator, I love creating images, I love creating videos, and I love creating stories about my life. So notice I went long on that just so you could see how it told me, hey, keep it short. So it popped up and said, you're going a little long, keep it a little shorter. But I'm going to ignore that right now. And if I want to preview it, I have now completed 5 slides or 5 pieces of my video. So I'm going to preview it. I am 2 things. I am a teacher and I am a creator. I've been a classroom teacher for 26 years and will start my 27th year. As a creator, I love creating images. I love creating stories. And notice it's just going through to the end. It's holding the space or the time for those slides that I left blank. So I'm going to click my X. I'm through previewing it. I'm actually not going to go any further. So I'm going to go to this slide and I'm actually going to delete the slide. So if I click on these 3 dots, I'm going to delete. Yes, I want to delete. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Delete. Yes, I want to delete. And if you go to your credit slide, you can see here that these are the 2 images that I use, so they are getting credit. I'm just going to add a, don't want it in all caps. And now let's go look at the music. I think the music that it was using is kind of a little country twang to it. But I'm going to go here to my music, and it's called Wandering Guitar. That's it. So if you want it to have a different feel, and music is going to give it a different feel, obviously horror movie. I had a teacher create a video about the concentration camps, and she actually used horror movie because it gave off a different feel. So if we go to it, it makes you think. It's not really scary, but it kind of makes you think about things. So your music is going to play a part in your presentation. So you can go through here and you can find a different music. I'm going to actually use Stroll in the Park. And if my music is too loud in my presentation, I can turn it off altogether, or I can decrease the volume of it. And I thought it would let me go ahead and name it, but it's not going to let me do that up here. All right, so I am ready to save my video, so I'm going to download it. It's already saved in your Adobe Adobe Spark projects. It's already saved. But this is going to allow me to download it and use it elsewhere. And I think that I'm getting close to my session time, so I'm not going to actually get to the page. It is super easy to use, but I'm going to go through the PowerPoint that I am going to provide you so that you can see what's left and what will be available to you. So if I go back here to my Adobe Spark Home and I go to my projects, you will see here is my I am video, and it tells me that it's a video. And here's my I am post, and it tells me it is a post. And I think at the very bottom here, I've done a couple of pages. So pages, you know, when you get to that, it will show you that it is on a page. All right, so going back here, we did an I am graphic that we included in our video. We used our voice to record and give a little bit of an explanation. The next one would be an Adobe Spark page. And again, you're going to have access to this presentation, so you're going to be able to click on these links and see that these pages that these students created. And yet another YouTube how-to video. I just recently finished grad school, and a lot of students used Adobe Page to create their personal e-portfolio. So that's a really good option to use. And then we would have added our graphic and added our video to that page that we would have created. All right, so I do want you to share your creations. Again, this presentation is going to be available. There's going to be some lesson plans that you can quickly access and change to suit your needs. Adobe EduCreative is the hashtag that I'd love to see you post yours to. And then here is my contact information also, and I would be happy to help you in any way possible. I am a teacher at China Spring ISD at the high school. You can also find me on Twitter. And then I would encourage everyone to go ahead and make an account at Adobe Education Exchange. I think it might be cut off a little bit right there. But Adobe Education Exchange is going to have tons of lesson plans on anything Adobe, but because this session was on Adobe Spark, you can easily find lesson plans on Adobe Spark. Again, another link to Adobe Creative Educator, more lesson plans, a community of people that are going to help you. And then here are the part of the Adobe EduCreate creative team, and they would be happy to help you as well. So you could reach out to any one of those. I'm going to go back here because I really do want you to reach out if you have any questions or concerns, or I can't figure this out, but I think it's going to be really easy for you to get involved and start using. And I'm going to leave you with this one tidbit of information. Like if you're concerned about your students figuring it out, or will they be able to do this, whether they are fourth grade, kindergarten, seniors, freshmen, whatever grade they're in, junior high, you need to throw this analogy out to them. For the most part, if you hand a kid a cell phone, they're not going to go read the instructions. They're not going to hold on to it until you tell them how to use it. If you hand them new technology, they are going to figure it out. That's just how they operate. Kids these days just figure things out. So don't be afraid to introduce Adobe Spark into your classroom and worry that you're going to have to do a lot of teaching. Give those students some opportunity to grow, to problem solve, to troubleshoot. You don't have to know all the answers. They can collaborate with each other. And that's another really great tool about Adobe Spark is you can collaborate. A kid in fourth period can start a video, and a kid in eighth period can turn around and finish it if they're collaborating. So they don't have to be together. This is a great tool for online learning. Again, they don't have to be in the same room, but don't be afraid to challenge your students to learn something new and you not have all the answers, because you don't need all the answers. You just need to give them a safe space to learn. So that's my tip to you. I know that you can do it. It may be challenging, but you're going to get in and dive in and see how simple it will be in the end. Okay, thank you so much.